prepare for a golf tournament?
Well, I hit balls maybe 20 minutes, putt a little bit, smoke 4 or 5 cigarettes, drink 3 Diet Cokes, and go to the first tee. Some days I won't even go to the range.
I can't do it.
Okay.
We'll do it live.
Okay.
We'll do it live. It. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Thing sucks.
Hey, welcome in. Here we go. It is the Daily Puck Drop. It is Thursday, March 13th. We welcome you in. People saying, hey, you're late. I mean, come on. Literally, we're late? It's like 1 minute. 1 minute we're late. Welcome in. If you are unfamiliar what we do here, this is the Daily Puck Drop. We do it live every single day at 10 a.m., both on video stream and audio. So a big thanks to people that are watching. Look at this pretty face. Look at that hat. Isn't that a great hat, by the way? Isn't that a great backdrop? A great sign there. Limback Lumber, no white flags, the Masters, all of it. Cougar helmet, Maple Valley Raiders helmet, the Tavern Beer, Hulk Hogan, the Iron Sheik. It's all back there. Oh, and also there's a 1984. See that trophy back there? If you're watching the stream, 1984 T-ball championship. Huh? That's what I'm talking about. No, not T-ball. Whatever single A is. Was it single A? Double A? I don't know. Anyways, no one cares. If you're watching, thank you on YouTube, also on Twitter. Search Puck Sports. If you're listening, you can always listen to the Daily Puck Drop, the live version of it. By the way, we have an app for your phone. For those who do not know, an app. It's on iOS and for your Apple phone, or for your iPhone, I should say, and then for your Android phone, Google Play. You can download it. Just search Puck Sports, the mobile app. So what's the benefit of the mobile app? Really, the biggest benefit is that you can listen to the show anytime it goes live via your phone or via Apple CarPlay, which is pretty cool. Pretty cool, by the way. The shows are up on there as well. You can listen to the shows. You can watch the shows on there as well. But again, I know other people just go desktop on YouTube or have your favorite podcast platform, whatever that is. If you are seeing this or you're watching this live, we always have everything podcast later on the show as well. Up on YouTube. Please subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment. There's a lot of comments on the Rob Staten show yesterday. I haven't got to all of them yet, but a lot of great feedback and people arguing with one another and all that. And then also Ryan Divish is up there from yesterday as well. The sneak preview version of Ryan Divish. And, of course, all the podcast platforms, your favorite, Apple and Spotify. When you're there, please, on those two, please rate the show and leave a review. It helps this guy move up the charts. Speaking of Ryan Divish, going to get some audio from him from yesterday's show. Please go to pucksports.com, sign up to be a Pucks Posse member. It's just $5 a month. Everything that we do here daily, I'm giving you damn near 90 minutes of commercial-free daily content. No one else can do that. That gets your sports knowledge, your sports content every single day. So you support that. Also, all the additional VIP content like Ryan Divish every single week. Again, just $5 a month. The full Divish podcast every week is around 50 minutes. I give you about 20 minutes free of it. And then also the Dane Brugler NFL Draft Countdown Series. Episode 2 is out. Episode 3 comes out next week. And debuting will be a brand new show the week of opening day that I promise that you will like. It is a throwback show featuring some good voices that I think you will appreciate. You better appreciate. If you don't, then we'll just cut them loose. How about that? All right, Daily Puck Drop coming up today. Mike Garafolo coming up in about 10 minutes or so. Michael-Shawn Dugar coming up around 10:45-ish or so. Transparency, as we always are. This is the transparency show of record and has been for years. I recorded with Dugar earlier today. He had stuff to do, and there's a Seahawks press conference later today, and then they told the press this morning, hey, you got to be there by 11:30. So I don't know what else is going on. Maybe they're going to make John Schneider and Mike McDonald and some other personnel people available coming up at 11:30. We will keep an eye on that one. Follow Mike on Twitter at Mike Dugar. We cover a lot with Dugar. It's really good stuff. Geno Smith, what led to the trade, DK Metcalf. Why was there this falling out between the Seahawks and DK? And Mike and I just kind of were baffled by it, too, because you haven't heard anything come out, any growing rift between the two. Sam Darnold, he shares his thoughts on Sam Darnold and the DeMarcus Lawrence signing. So a lot to cover with Michael-Shawn Dugar, and a lot to cover there with Garafolo coming up soon, because we haven't talked to Mike since all this stuff broke with Geno Smith, DK Metcalf, things that he was certainly alluding to and was all over a week ago there on the show. All right, we are broadcasting from the Puck Sports Studios, built by Limbeck Lumber Contractors. They got free deliveries, everything from whole house packages to homeowner DIY projects, largest stock moldings in the Northwest, old school service. They've been doing it since 1930. Give Limbeck Lumber a call, 206-782-3487. Visit them online at limbecklumber.com. Let's just jump right into it. So I was all day yesterday. I've signed up to coach too much stuff, I'll tell you that. It was a long day for me yesterday. We had one of our final JV basketball practices for Whitman Middle School yesterday, and then that morphed right into we had a baseball practice as well. I'm out of touch forever. And although I'm kind of keeping track of stuff on my phone. So I'm being a smartass last night when I got home finally at around, 9:30. Hey, did we sign any offensive linemen today? Zippo, none. No offensive linemen have been signed up by your Seattle Seahawks. And that was really the discussion yesterday with Rob. And I know people are like, we always got to pick sides on this one. Listen, Rob and I had a great discussion yesterday. And it's okay to have disagreements, by the way. And also, you can bring up points where the other person listens to the points, and then you make a counterpoint, and that makes a counterpoint. And at the end of the day, you respect that person's opinion, which I respect Rob's, and Rob respects mine. And at the end of the day, you don't yell at each other. It's not first take. We don't got to do that. I just think that we see it a little bit differently, but I don't think it's as different as maybe some, at least on the comments, are suggesting from yesterday's show. The bottom line is that I feel for all the fans out there, but I'm one of you. I'm a Seahawks fan, a huge Seahawks fan. And I just been watching this football team forever, and I just want them to get better on the offensive line, like now, today. And I get the issues with the contracts and Fries, and it's too long of a deal. There are a lot of different factors of maybe why they didn't acquire him. And I didn't know anything about any of these guys a few weeks ago. I didn't know. I mean, I had heard of Drew Dalman. I had not heard of Will Fries. But I think the frustration from fans is this. When they are targeted as the two biggest free agents on the market in terms of internal offensive linemen, and you are the organization that's struggling the most at finding those guys, that's your biggest hole, and you don't get either of them. And one of them, it doesn't sound like you even had a deal with. Talk to in Dahlman. Again, we'll throw this out there. I bring it up with Dugar as well. I don't know what's none of us know what personally is going on with Will Fries or Drew Dalman. Sounds like at the Combine, you'll hear Mike talk about it later, that it was always Dalman always had Chicago circled. I haven't even bothered to look it up. Maybe he's got family there. Maybe he's grown up being a Bears fan. He just always wanted to play there. Maybe he wanted to play under Ben Johnson, likes Caleb Williams. These guys are free agents, and they get to decide wherever they want to go. So that is a huge factor in it. I think you just can solely blame the Seahawks and solely blame John Schneider for not landing these guys, because they have a right to go wherever they want to go in free agency. And to a degree, that's the same deal that you can throw back at maybe the Mariners and defend Jerry Dipoto for a second. Difference being is that they don't even offer anything for the Mariners. Like, the Mariners don't offer anything that's like competitive. So it's the decision's made easy. But, there has been a second wave of these guys. Kevin Zeitler, There's the center for Green Bay that ends up going elsewhere. There's a second wave that's happening that they still aren't a part of. And it's no longer going to be a narrative anymore. It's going to be they are asleep once again at the wheel in free agency with offensive linemen. And it is the thing that has held them back the most since 2014 when they last went to the Super Bowl. It's they cannot solve the offensive line. They just cannot do it. And guys that they have drafted haven't taken those roles over. And I know people want to say, hey, it's too early to give up on Christian Haynes. I agree to a point with Christian Haynes. But this guy was a third-round pick. And I know someone's going to say, well, he's going to be a better fit in this system. If you're a third-round pick, I don't care what the system is. You should be good. And this guy wasn't even good enough to be the backup. The backup. Oluwatimi, I don't know. I have no idea if Oluwatimi can be a starting center for the next decade in the NFL. I would say this. Did anyone see anything last year would suggest that he is? And if we play the drinking game, I want everyone to take a drink every time on Twitter they hear someone talk about Jalen Sundell being the answer. The guy that no one really knows anything about, but because some guy who hosts something somewhere mentioned to his cousin and then the uncle to his uncle that, oh yeah, but they're really high on Jalen Sundell. Like, I want to know who started the, hey, they're really high on Jalen Sundell talk. This guy's an undrafted rookie free agent from North Dakota State. You're going to now entrust him to be the starting center on the football team? Okay. If he was that good, why didn't he get an opportunity last year? Again, you're going in, you got your own offensive coordinator says you need an elite center. Maybe he's an elite center. Okay, but that's not a plan. This sounds what this sounds like to me. Well, these guys, they're much higher on these guys than everybody else is. Like this new staff that's come in. They're much higher on Jalen Sundell. They're much higher on Oluwatimi and Anthony Bradford and Christian Haynes. You know what this sounds like, guys? Sounds like the Mariners. This is what it sounds like. That they're high on their own guys. This sounds like excuse making. Like Jerry Dipoto with, well, Jorge Polanco, if he stays healthy, if Donovan Solano can stay healthy and what he can provide, if Luke Raley can take over first base, if Ryan Bliss can be a capable second baseman, if. Because you start defending your own guys or guys that you bring in cheap when you didn't go out and actually get guys. Yeah, I can't remember where Fries went now. Did he go to Minnesota? Is that where he went? Did they overpay for him? Yeah. Well, who fucking cares if they overpaid for him if he's good? Why do you care? Why does anyone care? So they gave him 5 years. He plays 3 years. What if he's good for 3 years? You think it's worth it? I do. Zeitler getting $9 million. They couldn't get $9 million for 1 year for this guy to come in. To have your offseason plan be at the offensive line be this. Well, we think this staff is much higher than the guys we already have. And we'll also find the guys in the draft. That's a hard one to swallow. That's a hard offseason plan to swallow for the offensive line group again. Because this organization and this front office does not have a good track record in doing this. So I would just throw it back to anyone who believes them. Why would you believe them? Why would you, let me take a step back, not believe them. Why would you have any trust in them? I mean, I think that's the question. Why would you trust them? In order to have trust, there's got to be something there, right? There's got to be something there. I know they're going to sing the praises of Laumea and Haynes and Bradford. And if they talk today, you're going to hear that. You're going to hear them say that. If John Schneider talks today and Mike McDonald talks today, you're going to hear them praise those guys. Oh, we like them probably more than most people. At the end of the day, though, when you can't even, I don't know, have a rumored contract offer out for Drew Dahlman. Not even, I didn't see anything. And I know that there's going to, again, it's always been signs pointing towards Chicago. But to not have anything, no sniffs, no rumors, no nothing. Guys going off the board left and right. Even now the second-tier guys are leaving, and you still don't have anyone. Yes, everybody needs offensive line. Yes, it's an epidemic in the NFL. We all understand that. That's why you've got to overpay for it. It's just like the Mariners. No one wants to hit here. If they do come here to want to hit, you know what you have to do? Overpay for them, because that's what it takes. You can't complain about it. You just got to go do it. I just don't want to speak. I mean, they are the two organizations very much are mirroring themselves right now in terms of like one group can't find any offensive help to hit a baseball, and then the other group can't find anyone to block consistently. And it's just the same storyline year after year after year in the offseason. What are we going to do? We're going to improve the offensive line. Okay, well then do it. And then no one does it. I'm going to ask Garafolo when he joins us just about that and just what's the deal? Why are they so against going after offensive linemen in free agency, and especially offering guys deals that are longer than 3 years? DeMarcus Lawrence, I saw that news. DeMarcus Lawrence, we get into that with Dugar later in the show. I love it. That is a great deal. That's a great, great deal. We talked about this, I think, yesterday on the show. Rob and I, we both agree that we build a football team, you want to build it on the offensive line and the defensive line. And I love DeMarcus Lawrence, and I know he's coming off a foot injury. But if you look at what he did before he ended up getting hurt, and it's an if. That's sure. You got to throw it out there that this brings in a risk. Every free agent you bring in, there is going to be a level of risk. But 3 sacks in 4 games before the injury. His pressure rate was good. Overall numbers were good, according to Pro Football Focus. He was rated as one of the best edge defenders in 23, against the run as well. Hopefully it's not a long-term thing with that foot injury. It's not something that's going to plague him. I talked to my good buddy Gavin Dawson, who hosts a show down in Dallas about DeMarcus Lawrence. I said, hey, what's the word on him? Couldn't stop singing his praises. He's says underrated. People love him. He's good. He is a guy that works hard. When he's healthy, he's going to be a disruptor for you. And so he's very good against the run. That's one thing that he's going to get. You're going to a lot of talk about the pressures and getting after the quarterback, and rightfully so, because that's the position he plays, but very good against the run. You can't add enough of these guys in your defensive line. Guys get hurt. The best thing to have is a heavy rotation on your defensive line, by the way, because you can just keep rotating guys to keep them healthy. And you see that, back in the day when they had, when they were really cooking with their defensive line and Michael Bennett and the Cliff Avrils of the world, you go back and they had so many guys that could rotate in. And they're starting to build that up right now with Lawrence and Nwosu and Boye Mafe and Derek Hall. I mean, you've got a plethora of guys now you are willing and just to throw in there nonstop. Nice carousel of defensive lineup. So I love the DeMarcus Lawrence signing. I mean, it's $18 million guaranteed. Wait for the full details to come out, and maybe Garafolo will have him here in a few minutes. He's just running a little late. Maybe he'll have the full details. But this, I bet you it's something like a 2-year deal, because $18 million guaranteed. It's $18 million. You go look at edge defenders and you put that deal up, if that's really what it is, against those guys, it's a freaking bargain. A bargain for this guy. Yeah, he's 33. Still a bargain. Still an absolute bargain. They also got the Marquez Valdez Scantling. That actually happened as we were wrapping up yesterday. No, early on, actually, with myself and Jim. So the breaking news show of record is actually back now. 1 year, $5.5 million. Gives him that big wide receiver, 6'4", 206. He's not quite that big, but at least he's kind of tall. He's fast. He can get downfield, stretch the field, all that. Had 5 games last year with Derek Carr, which he was good. Second half with the Saints. 12 catches, almost 300 yards, 4 touchdowns. Obviously, the familiarity there with Clint Kubiak. Is it the sexiest thing in the world? Does he completely take over DK Metcalf's spot? No. Obviously, he doesn't completely take over that spot. But, I think everybody kind of likes that deal. They're not going to be done yet, and that's not going to be the only thing that they're going to do. At the same time, now does it preclude them? Does it stop them from going out and getting Cooper Kupp? No. Go out and get Kupp. I still wonder if adding Cooper Kupp is kind of the same deal that you have with JSN. But maybe having a veteran, a presence like Kupp around JSN, who certainly benefited from having DK around him and also Tyler Lockett around him. Maybe he learns, pick something up from Kupp. Maybe Kupp has something still left in the tank, just a little bit, wants to play in front of family and friends. I would say this. If your option is, hey, give me Cooper Kupp or some rookie in the draft, I'll take Kupp. You could still draft a guy. You can draft multiple guys. You don't have to just, say, hey, we're getting Kupp and that's it. We're not doing anything else. So I'm good with Marquez Valdez-Scantling. And we'll see what, he can provide, this offense. And again, it's not going to be picking up for DK Metcalf because you're not going to completely replicate what DK can do. Can he stretch the field, do some of the same things as Metcalf? Yeah, probably to a degree. Is he physically gifted? No, there's no one is physically gifted. But the DK thing is, and you're going to hear it when Dugar comes on later because we recorded it again this morning. It's still just a head scratcher. I would love for anything to come out that says this is why they're no longer together. Was there an issue behind the scenes? Was there, I don't like the personnel around me. I don't like the scheme. I don't like who you hired. And maybe Garafolo will have answers to this. Why did we go from, hey, I want to be like nothing. There was some talk about, hey, will they trade him? And how much money he's going to get. I think most people going to the offseason thought that he would get paid. How'd we go from, no, we're not going to pay him, and he requests a trade, and it's like 3 days later he's traded. That tells you that this was in the works for a while, that they had made a decision, they being the Seahawks made a decision a long time prior that they just wanted to move on from DK Metcalf. And no one that I've talked to can answer the question, why? Why? Maybe it's as simple as DK just wanted to move on to a better system. I don't know, but he has no control over that. It's one of the great mysteries. I don't know if it's an attitude thing with him. I know Garafolo's waiting by here in the green room, and we'll get to Mike in just a quick second. Before we get to Garafolo, I want to play a little soundbite real quick. Baseball yesterday, because I want to promote the Ryan Divish podcast is up for all you members, by the way. Divish and I yesterday were talking about, what are some of the last few decisions to make for this roster moving forward. We talked about the bullpen.
Brandon Garcia to make the team, I think, because he's left-handed and he has plus stuff, but he just hasn't been very efficient, that kind of transition to being a reliever. And they could do a Logan Evans with him and move him back to being a starter at Tacoma because he's left-handed, he throws 95, 96. So they could do that. And then he would be another guy that's really viable to help them. But I look at Spire and Saucedo making the team as lefties because none of the other lefties really stood out. Santos, Munoz, Colin Snyder, they're all locked in. Trent Thornton locked in, there's maybe 2 spots.
So that was Ryan Divish yesterday, of course, covering the Mariners for us every single week. Sneak preview is up on YouTube and a part of the Daily Punch Drop yesterday on the audio platforms, on the podcast platforms. So go check it out. The full full Ryan Divish podcast, 50-plus minutes, is available to Puck's Posse members. You click on that QR code. It will take you there to sign up, $5 a month. Also, just go to pucksports.com to go the full 50 minutes. We talk about the second base position or the battle between Bliss and Moore, the update health-wise on Kirby and Garver, and the impact of Dan Wilson, the new skipper there, obviously for your Seattle Mariners. All right, let's go back to the NFL. And joining us is Mr. Newsbreaker himself. Ladies and gentlemen from the NFL Network.
All disheveled. This is actually a nice shirt. It just looks like
You look like you're in college. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Mike Garafolo, brought to you by Hartley & Hartley Insurance, your trusted family-owned insurance experts in the Puget Sound area since 1978. Honesty, fairness, integrity. Contact Jamie Hartley, 253-565-8700. Not playing golf yet because it's raining. Also, Zogs on Fox Island, perfect spot to grab a cold beer, hang out with friends. Check them out on Facebook and Instagram. And, of course, Mikey G joins us from the Limback Lumber Studios. Well, it's been a busy week, sir.
we're almost there.
Well, let's go back to last week.
Yeah.
And I want to get right into, because we talked about DK. You said, hey, listen, I think it's going to happen. It's going to happen fast. It did. And then as we were talking about DK, I asked you about Geno Smith, and you said, well, I think there's several teams have called on him, and I know one for sure. I'm going to assume that one is the Raiders, and then he ends up just getting dealt. How did that happen? Why did Geno Smith ultimately get traded?
Because we talked about this repeatedly, didn't we? About can you ever? It's the Super Bowl banner test, right? Remember?
Yeah, you do it to me all the time. Sure.
Could you ever look up at the Super Bowl at the banners that they have in the stadium and see Geno Smith? I was actually thinking about that this year. We were in the media center and they had Mahomes and either Saquon or Jalen, but they had him up in this huge banner. Because I was thinking to myself, what do they do with do they just throw these banners? Like, how do you throw that banner out after you're done? Do they recycle it? Right. And I was thinking about that, there's so many of these things that they make up for the Super Bowl and they're done in a week. And I was thinking about that. I was like, I tell Puck all the time, here's the test right here. You're at the Super Bowl. You look up. Can you see that guy up there? I don't think the answer was ever yes, but he wasn't a bad option in the meantime, right? Like, he was a good option. And if he had asked, or if he had acquiesced to a contract around what they were offering, which is what Sam Darnold eventually got, I believe he'd still be the quarterback of the Seahawks, right? So it just came to a point where they're like, we don't see him as a $45 million a year guy. As a matter of fact, I'm surprised Geno hasn't gotten his deal yet from the Raiders. I thought that was supposed to happen pretty quickly, and maybe it still will in the coming days. We'll see. And it's he's going to a tax-free state in Nevada, so if he gets 40 there, it's comparable to 45. I mean, I'm not doing the math, but 45 in Seattle versus 43 in Vegas might be the same thing. So we'll see what that number comes in at. And it's all a matter of where you are, right? The Raiders are trying to start this thing anew. They needed a quarterback. I am covering multiple teams right now that if they miss out on Aaron Rodgers, who was not a good quarterback last year, if they miss out on Aaron Rodgers, they're going to be in severe trouble. So for the Raiders, it's like somebody else's, I don't want to say trash, but it's their treasure. They needed something. And in the end, the Seahawks wind up getting a guy who, and I've explained it this way. Let's say the production is equal. Sam Darnold and Geno Smith. You're paying the same amount of money. You also got yourself a third-round pick as well. And in your mind, you might even have a better quarterback, right? Like, you might. So you might have a better quarterback for cheaper, plus a third-round pick. That's why the deal was made.
And they obviously don't make – I'm going to make an assumption here. They don't make that trade for Geno if they don't have a good idea they're getting Sam Darnold.
Oh,
correct?
No. Yes. No, I
because that's actually is that the illegal but legal but before the legal tampering?
No, it's illegal but illegal. That's if no.
So
I'm not saying it happened.
Way,
I'm just saying,
because people are like, well, what if they don't get Sam Darnold? And we were discussing this when I asked to come back on Friday, but we were discussing this on Friday's show, and I'm like, there's just no way they don't know it's Sam Darnold. There's no way they do that deal.
Drew Rosenhaus had a deal 5 minutes in. Every year he has a deal 5 minutes into free agency. 5 minutes. Okay. One year it was Trent Brown. I forget who it was last year. This year it was Hassan Reddick. And the reason he does it is because Remember this Hassan Reddick guy that couldn't get a deal last year? I just got him 12 up to 14 with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the agent doesn't get in trouble. There's nothing that the NFLPA would do nothing to an agent who was tampering. It's the team that would get in trouble. But every year, Drew's got a deal done 5 minutes into free agency that he wants to highlight and put out there because he knows everybody else is going to be scared, and there's never any repercussions, ever. So there are talks with every team, with every player that happened before that legal negotiating window. I don't say tampering because tampering is technically illegal. Yeah. So legal negotiating period. These deals are done quickly. I've had multiple agents tell me, I'm going to wait till about 2:00 to put this out there so it doesn't look like we had it done yesterday. But so everybody does it. I don't think it's a major issue because everybody's doing it anyway. The real tampering stuff is when it happens, weeks in advance, or like the Brady thing with the boat. But anyway, back to your original question. Yes, however they did it, the Seahawks were clear that they were going to wind up getting Sam Darnold, and that's a place that he wanted to be. The deal got done. There was, what was the other one that suddenly opened up? What am I missing? There was something that opened up, and I was like, oh boy, could this potentially fall apart on the Seahawks? And Seattle was where he was.
Lawrence? Like a deal that you didn't think was going to happen?
No. There was something that happened publicly, and I was like, oh boy, that just opened up. Did somebody get cut? Did somebody get traded? What happened? Somebody go somewhere else?
Lockett being cut?
Maybe it was it Fields? It wasn't Fields. Maybe it was Fields going to the Jets, and all of a sudden the Steelers were open, and I knew that was a place.
I got you.
Maybe that's what it was. What it was.
Well,
because when Fields went there, it wasn't done with Darnold yet.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking to myself,
could blow up on him.
Yeah. So because I know Darnold liked Pittsburgh, but he really liked Seattle, and the team, the organization, and the offensive coaching staff is a big part of that too.
Okay, so when they presented, did they present a similar offer they gave Darnold to Geno?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Did he ever counter it?
Yeah. He wanted 45.
He wanted 45.
And they were around 35.
Yeah.
So it was a sizable gap. And in the end, could it have been bridged at 40? Probably. He comes down, they go up. But at that point, it's like, well, we could get this for this number, add a third round pick to the mix. And Darnold's much younger too. That's the other thing. I didn't throw in there. His age was certainly a factor as well.
Do you think he gets that? Is it a foregone conclusion he gets that with the Raiders?
I believe that is it a foregone conclusion? In so many words, yeah. There's going to be a new deal, and it's coming up, and it's going to start with a 4, from my understanding. So we'll see.
How much how much talk was there? Because now it has since come out. And how much legs was the Max Crosby for both DK and Geno?
Yeah. Yep. John Spytek had none of it. Okay? None of it. So it was proposed by someone, and John Spytek, the general manager, was like, are you nuts? Not only are we not trading this guy, we're about to extend him. And he did. So credit to him for that. He's a rookie GM. But he's been in a position of power in Tampa Bay for a while. He's been a part of the process with Jason Light down there, and he was not trading Max Crosby. Max Crosby's only 27. I didn't realize that. I thought he was close to 30. He's only 27. So he's got a legitimate 5 to 6 good years left. You don't trade that away.
John Schneider couldn't get to him on a plane fast enough.
Oh, are you kidding me?
God. Oh, my Lord.
We're going to trade you Max Crosby for – done!
Yeah,
done.
Just anything. Here you go. Yes, please. Yes, please. What you were right last week. You said, hey, I asked you, DK.
I like when you tell me that I was right. What was I right about?
You're right about a lot of stuff.
I'm wrong a lot.
No, so. Yeah, but you know what? You throw a lot out there, and then when we celebrate the wins, and we don't talk about the losses, all right? That's what I say to my family, because there's a lot more losses, and we celebrate the wins. Let's take the wins. All right. The DK, because you're right, it happened so fast. And you said that. He goes, this is going to happen real fast.
Yeah.
So that tells me this has been talked about for a while. What happened? I'm still trying to figure out why there's a divorce between the two.
I mean, he's Kyle Brandt had a great segment on Good Morning Football this week where He talked about Zach Arzani, the wide receivers coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the fact that he's got DK and George Pickens in the same room now. And he's like, we're going to light candles for this guy right here. DK's not as like George Pickens is, man, that guy's a roller coaster, right? And you saw, if you watch the Hard Knocks, Mike Tomlin last year during a game telling like George Pickens, like, I need you. It's the first quarter. That ain't going to decide the game. Stay with me. Like that's how you have to handle George Pickens. DK's emotional as well. He's not that bad, right? And I hate to use the word bad. I mean, you go to the receiver position, you add talent, you add personality, you're going to get a lot of this, right? You are. And it's a fact of life. And the Steelers seem willing to take on more of this over the years. Go back to Antonio Brown and Chase Claypool. They're all different types of a lot, but they're all a lot. And DK could be a lot. And so
this is a lot, though, Mike, behind the scenes. I know we've seen some stuff on the field, but I always chalk that up to, listen, man, these guys are playing the most aggressive, testosterone-filled sport we have.
Yeah, he's also. I mean, if you want to break it down, he's also in a lot of ways a straight line guy, right? A straight line speed guy, and that's fine. I mean, if you're the Steelers and you see yourself doing a lot of that. And which is why I still think Russ back there does make sense. I wouldn't do it, but I just, given all their options, I don't think he's a fit for Rodgers. I don't. Like Rodgers wants ball out of his hand, right? And he needs guys who are going to be able to move this way and play all over the place. He's not necessarily waiting for all that to develop down the field, especially at this age of his career. So there's an X's and O's element to this as well, right? Where you want a new deal. We paid him once. Are we going to pay him again? Is he a complete receiver? No, he's not, right? He's got a lot of tools. He's really good at what he does, but he's not a 5-tool wide receiver. And, they're going to use that money to reallocate elsewhere and perhaps bring in some receivers that are on the market that can do a little bit of everything.
What does John Schneider and this organization have, even other resources elsewhere, what do they have against offensive linemen? What is it?
I don't have anything against offensive linemen.
Yes,
Why do
they
you
do, because they do. They don't ever bring anyone in.
They just drafted a couple.
Does Schneider just hate him? Did an offensive lineman beat him up in college? What happened?
No, I don't think so. I don't think John's ever been in a real fight. I think he's
I don't know.
Which is not a knock on him. I just think in the end, he'll settle it, right? Like a man.
Yeah, but I think he's been in something. I don't know. He's been
Look, they have an evaluation process. They've missed, they've hit, they've had a little bit of both.
Well, they've had a lot more misses on the offensive line than hits. A lot more. I know you've got to leave if Rodgers signs.
No, it's not Rodgers. It's not Rodgers.
Is it a B-lister that you can say?
No, it's an A-lister.
Oh, okay.
You
want me to flip on? Do I have to watch your Twitter feed to see who it is? Yes. That's fine.
No. Well, this is. Hang on. Now I got to chase another one too. I mean, the A-lister is Cooper Kupp. We're expecting Cooper Kupp sometime today. I'm surprised it didn't happen last night. He's got suitors, aggressive suitors.
Seattle. What are the odds? What's the pie chart tell you about Cooper Kupp in Seattle?
What did I say? You asked me when about Darnold. You asked me what's the pie chart on Darnold.
Yeah,
and
you want me to share that now?
100%, right?
You want me to share that?
Sure. Well,
I didn't know you want me to share it. I asked Mike on Saturday. Yeah, I think it was Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know for sure, but I knew for sure.
Yeah, I said, what's the pie chart say for Sam Darnold? 100%.
And I sent you 100%.
But then you thought I was. Did you also think I was? And then Mike also thought I was asking him to bet on the Flyers game.
Yes, I did. Well, I said as good a chance. So there you go. See, I like I said, I don't get them all right. It was Saturday because we were having this conversation, and I said roughly the chances of my Flyers winning this game. They were up 1-0 at the time. 5 minutes after I sent you that text, it all went to shit.
Well, that's what happens. You jinxed it. Cooper, what's the pie chart tell us for Cooper Kupp then?
To the Seahawks?
Yeah.
Greater than 0, less than 100. How about that?
Greater than 0, that's your dick. Come on, he's a local kid. Let's go.
Which is why they're under consideration, from my understanding.
Okay. All right. Well,
Who's reported what? Has anybody reported that they're heavy into it?
Yeah, I think you did.
No, I didn't say that.
I don't know. It's been out there, I think.
Jacksonville's in the mix. New Orleans is in the mix. Seattle's in the mix.
Okay. Well, then you're one of them.
Huh? Well,
then
now
you're
I
one
am.
of them. Now you are. Yeah. I don't know. I think everybody, I don't know if you got to quite be an insider on this one. The fact that he's from here, I think everyone just assumed like Seattle would be in the mix.
You don't just assume they're in the mix.
All right. Well,
right.
Does he have anything left in the
Nothing would bring me more joy than to be able to break this while I'm on the air with you. But I've been given no indication that that's happening. So
how much does he have left?
Enough that he's got suitors and he's going to make a lot of money. He's going to make a lot of money.
Really?
Yeah. Like I had people say, oh, he's going to make $8 million. I'm like, maybe double it.
Okay. If they, and God bless him, I love him. If they
he's
spend
not going to get 16, but he may be close to 16 somewhere. But
well, if he makes that, I don't want him here.
Ian Rappaport just woke up from a nap. Is free agency over yet? This is how we roll, bro.
I don't want wide receivers. I want offensive line.
All right. Well, I'll see.
But how can they? But why he has this thing, and I don't know if you've probably noticed this. And Greg Bell, I don't know if you know Greg. Greg covers the Seahawks for the News Tribune. He has written about this, and it's a great point by Greg that they just have this not unwillingness. They just don't do it. Contracts over 3 years for external free agents.
They don't. Well, you know what's weird? Usually you get a bunch of 5-year deals in free agency. I think we had one. Ian was talking about this. It was Will Fries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But why is he not? What do you think the philosophy is? You know that everybody wants offensive line help. Everybody does.
Yeah.
You have to overpay for these guys, right? It's like baseball. You got to overpay for talent. Don't you have to overpay for these guys? And for a team like Seattle that has been so desperate for the internal offense line, don't you have to overpay for it?
No. I mean, there's overpaying and then there's overextending, right? Like, you can do 3 years, and if he's good, see, you're also going into a world sometimes, and they're sort of dealing with guys this year that they do know, but you're dealing in free agency with players you don't know, right? So 3 years allows you to maybe to kind of limit that exposure to, well, we had the wrong read on that guy. So, there's a little bit of that in there as well. I don't know. I assume that's part of the philosophy.
Were you surprised that Fries got that amount? 5 years, 88.
No, was told repeatedly he was going to get big money.
Were the Seahawks ever in on Dahlman?
I don't know. The minute I heard that he was going to make big money, it was already ticketed for Atlanta.
I mean, for Chicago, you mean?
I mean, for Chicago. I'm sorry. Yeah, for Chicago.
Because him and them, it's been talked about that it was like the stuff coming out of the combine was just always Chicago. That was just kind of, does he have family there? What's the connection with him in Chicago? Why was it just such a foregone conclusion he would go?
I don't know. It's just they needed it and they were going to pay big is the only understanding that I had on that one. But yeah, it was like even the people in Atlanta were like, yeah, he's going to Chicago. So I guess he'd always kind of sort of ticketed there.
What about the Lawrence deal? I think it's a great deal. I think it's a good bargain deal for a veteran defensive, edge rusher, defender. Not that bad.
Who's this?
DeMarcus
Lawrence. Yeah. He's a good player. He's a good locker room guy.
Okay.
He was banged up this last year, but otherwise has been pretty reliable. And a big part of what Dallas has been defensively has been him. He's got a lot of incentives in the deal. Like we reported the number, and the base value is lower than that. Which I don't even know if that's out there, but
well, what is the actual deal? Because I think we read it as some of us have it has led us to read it like a 2-year, $18 million deal because $18 million is guaranteed, right?
It's 32.5 over 3 is the base value.
Okay.
He gets 13 million full guarantee this year, 18 million total guarantee. So there's 13 million this year and then another 5 that's guaranteed for next year. So it's a good deal. I mean, listen, it's good for him at this point in his career to still be getting double digits per year.
Yeah.
And it's good for Seattle because it's not a crippling type deal if it doesn't work out.
What's the status with his foot injury? Do they feel like it's that can linger, or that was just, hey, he broke his foot and move on.
Yeah, no, they're comfortable with that. I mean, it's the second time he's had a foot thing, if I'm not mistaken. I think he had one a couple of years ago. But yeah, no, there was definitely a comfort level with the injury that he had. And I was just thinking about this the other day. I don't know if they're allowed to like see scans and do everything before I think they are. So I believe that was part of it.
Hey, how long do you think that they had their eyes on Sam Darnold, the Seahawks?
I think it was always sort of like, well, if it goes sideways with Geno, we've got this option to explore. But I think it hit relatively quickly right before they traded him. I would say within the 24 hours of like, yeah, you know what, we're making this decision, we're moving on.
Was there anything to? I asked. I taped Michael-Shawn Dugar, who covers it. You know, Mike, who covers the Seahawks for The Athletic, and I asked him the same question. I'm going to ask you: is there anything with this, like with Pete being gone, now with Geno being gone, now with DK being gone? Anything with this, like Pete's guys versus Mike's guys at all?
Yeah, there's always that. There's always that, right? And especially when you got such a strong personality. And a strong way of doing things, and you set up a culture the way that Pete did, and then you come in and you do things differently, not good or bad. You just do things differently because you're a different person, and Mike's more understated, right? There's always going to be that. There's always going to be that, and that's why a lot of times, and I don't know how much of this Mike Macdonald did now that I think about it. You bring guys that were with you before, right? They did it with Washington, Bobby Wagner going there. Some other guys they brought over from Dallas. That helps you like, hey, here's what he's about. You may not understand. We know because we've been with him before. So sometimes that'll help when you're making that transition between regimes. But there's always that kind of stuff.
You know, the second I let you go, that's when you're going to get the Kupp news.
Oh, is that why you're dragging this out? You want this?
No, I'm not. I was going to be done.
I don't think it's imminent. When I first got the text, I thought it was, but I don't think it's imminent right now.
I know you got to go. I've taken up too much of your time. I know you're like, hey, can we squeeze this a little tight? And like,
and by the way,
and then I just keep talking.
Monday, you think he asked me to? I would have loved to.
It's okay.
Yeah, it is. But I much prefer it to what Major League Baseball reporters have to do, because our stuff is over it's once Rodgers and Wilson drop, we're pretty much done. I mean, there are still some good players out there, but it's not like, so it's over in 4 days for us, which is good, but it's a tough 4 days. And then like my daughter wakes me up at the first night. I'm like, because you don't know when to cut it. You're like, I'm going to go to sleep at 12:30 and something's going to happen at 12:45. And it's happened before. I've had that before.
Yeah.
And, but you can't stay up all night because you got to do the whole next day. So you got to at some point. So I went to bed at 12:30, 12:45, and she woke us up at 3. And I'm like, not tonight, please. So Tuesday was awful. But then I got a good night's sleep Tuesday, and I feel great today. So today's Thursday, so I'm going to make it.
Okay, Rodgers goes where? Where do you think?
No idea.
Okay. Wilson Wilson has to wait for him?
Yeah. Unless he goes to Cleveland, because he's not in play there. But I would say I would lean 51-49 Steelers right now.
Okay.
But I saw somebody said that the Giants don't expect to get him. I am getting the opposite impression.
Don't expect to get who? Rodgers?
Yeah. The Giants are very confident.
Okay.
Doesn't mean that it's going to happen, but they feel good about their communication. I'll put it to you that way.
Has the pie chart percentage increased Kupp to Seattle since 5 minutes ago?
No. It hasn't decreased either.
Okay. You're the best. Get some sleep. Thank you.
See you,
There he is. Mike Garafolo, NFL Network. All brought to you by our two great sponsors, Hartley and Hartley Insurance. Your family-owned insurance experts in the Puget Sound area since 1978. Honesty, fairness, integrity. Contact Jamie Hartley, 253-565-8700. Also, big thanks to Andrew Herzog. Zogs on Fox Island. Great spot to grab a cold beer, hang out with friends, catch the game. Check out Zogs on Facebook and Instagram for their hours. Mike Garafolo, that show will be a solo YouTube video. We'll put that up there separately up on YouTube. He will be a part of the whole Daily Puck Drop. That's how we do things here. We separate kind of the big heavy hitter interviews on YouTube, but everything just goes up as one show on the Daily Puck Drop. They're on Apple and Spotify, wherever you find your podcast. Great stuff there from Mike. He was He said, hey, can we make it tight? He was anticipating some breaking news happening with Aaron Rodgers and Cooper Kupp. Seattle, he told us Seahawks are in the mix for Kupp. Sounds like a pretty good mix, but God, it sounds like he's going to get paid. I don't know about you. I love the idea of Cooper Kupp. I really, 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 really do. I didn't like what I heard that he's going to get paid. If he's going to get paid a good substantial amount, I'm out. I don't want to see a heavy investment financially to Cooper Kupp. If it's real cheap, real friendly, fine. If it's significant amount of money, no thanks. I just because again, you're building from the outside in then and not building from the inside out, which is what they should be doing. So, all right, we'll wait and see. As I mentioned before, as we talk more NFL here on NFL Thursdays, Michael-Shawn Dugar, caught up with him early this morning because they needed to be at the facility at 11:30 today, so we couldn't do it live. He had other things to catch up on this morning, but Michael-Shawn Dugar and I spent a good 25 minutes or so early this morning talking about kind of the same things we talked about with Garafolo. You know, what led to the Geno trade? What has happened in the relationship with D.K. Metcalf? Sam's thoughts on Sam Darnold. And by the way, if you missed it there with Garafolo, what we tried to articulate on Friday and then on Monday is, especially on Monday's show, as you heard, like Mike and I having a conversation over the weekend about Sam Darnold being 100% he's coming to Seattle. That's why on Monday, we try to really tailor the show around he's coming here, but yeah, you never know, but he's coming here. As Mike told us, I mean, I sent him that text on Saturday, and he's like, 100% he's signing. Because there is, again, no way that they were going to make that deal to trade Geno Smith without knowing pretty damn well that they were going to get Sam Darnold. These guys are the legal tampering BS. This stuff is happening all the time. The second the season's over, they're tampering and illegal communication. They knew they were getting Sam Darnold the second they traded Geno Smith. They knew it. That's why they traded him. And so, the hand-wringing of, well, what if they don't get him? I mean, what's playing? That's why it was BS about Aaron Rodgers. There was no interest in Aaron Rodgers. They weren't getting Aaron Rodgers. They were getting Sam Darnold. And as Mike kind of just confirmed it right there. But we talked to Michael-Shawn Dugar just about the Geno trade, what led to DK, and then again, thoughts on Sam Darnold. Our weekly appearance with Michael-Shawn Dugar from The Athletic, all brought to you by Georgetown's new beer, the Tavern Beer. Go check it out at Georgetown Brewery, your local bar. Also, go visit georgetownbeer.com. You don't apologize for having a bad hair day. Hey, tell we're recording this. All right, this isn't live, obviously. I'll point that out during the live show portion of it. How long have you been growing that out?
Since July 2009.
That is amazing. That's just fabulous. How many times have you thought, okay, I'm over it, I just want to cut it?
Twice. Once in August of 2016. I went to my friend's house in Pullman. I hit her up. I was like, yo, I'm bringing the scissors. Like, we got to do this. We got to go. Because I can remember exactly what triggered it. It was so heavy that when I went to go take the trash out, when I tried to tie the drawstring, my hair was so long that it got caught in the trash, like trying to tie the bag up and take it to the dumpster. And I remember texting my friend like, yo, this is it. Like, I'm ready to go. This is done. Yeah. So I went over there and then I got scared, chickened out. And then we just trimmed it. We trimmed it about to my shoulders that time.
Okay. All right.
And then again in 2018 or 19 around December, I thought the same thing for a different reason. That was more athletic and sleep based. It was just so long. I couldn't even sleep comfortably to tie it up over my head. I couldn't, even if I put it in a ponytail to try to play basketball, it was still swinging and hitting me in the eye when I was shooting threes. I was like, I'm not functional. That was yeah. And I trimmed it again to that. So I've chickened out twice.
Okay. All right. No one's here. All right. I hear you. I can hear people yelling. We don't care about his hair.
People ask me about it literally everywhere I go.
Okay,
so whether it's conscious or not, I know some people are very curious.
Because just normally you have a hat on or a beanie or something. So I think it's one of the rare times you've not had that on. All right. Michael-Shawn Dugar, the Dugar Report. It's co-host of the Seahawks Man-to-Man podcast, I should say. The Athletic first. The Athletic covers the Seahawks and the co-host of the Seahawks Man-to-Man podcast. His weekly appearance all brought to you by Georgetown Tavern's Beer. The Tavern Beer, I should say. Easy drinking domestic style lager made with Pacific Northwest barley and Yakima Valley hops. Brewed by our good friends at Georgetown Brewery. Michael-Shawn Dugar with us in the Limback Lumber Studios. I mean, a lot has changed since we last talked.
Yeah.
Think about that. When we last talked, you and I were getting into discussion. Hey, if they end up trading DK, should they just trade Geno? Break it all down. And you and I think, disagreed on that one. And I mean, look what has happened since we last talked. Geno gets traded, DK gets traded, Lockett released, and then they signed Sam Darnold. I mean, in 1 week's time. What, if anything, surprised you the most about what has transpired in the last week?
The compensation for the Geno return, I think. Not that he got moved per se, just because if it came down to money, which it sounds like it did in part, Geno and John Schneider and their new cap guy were never going to be on the same page. That was like the thing I was sure about this offseason. I thought maybe they would just play it out. If that was the case, that was kind of my prediction, that they just couldn't agree on a number and they play it out. Instead, it was, okay, we can't agree on a number. Let's call Pete. And maybe if Pete didn't answer the phone, maybe Geno's still a Seahawk. Because I do think that was like the one team that would have been attractive to Geno at a like 40 million plus is literally the Las Vegas Raiders, led by Pete Carroll. So to really get only a third round pick, and a third round pick in the back of the round too. They didn't even get the Raiders' first third round pick, which is, I don't forget how many picks difference that is, but still, that's not much. So I was a little surprised they couldn't wiggle a little bit more out of a team like Vegas that does have some draft capital to spare. So other than that, DK, not so much.
Let me just before we move on to DK, do you think though that might be a commentary on how the league views him, that's all they got? Because what if I'm just speculating here. What if they shopped him to other teams? I mean, when I had Garafolo on last week, and as we're talking about this because we're recording it earlier than Garafolo's live, I don't know what he was going to say, but he did say on last week's show that, listen, several teams have called. He goes, I know one in particular that's called, and I'm assuming that one is the Raiders. So. Right. What if they shopped him to other teams and like, yeah, that was the asking price?
Oh yeah, I'm sure that the league is very low on Geno as a trade acquisition and money. Like that makes perfect sense to me. Just like it seems like the league's not super high on like Sam Darnold, for instance. Teams are pretty wary of like the guy who had the breakout in the system that's not ours type of situation, and that they should be. I think that's actually a good general rule of thumb. Like, okay, what about that situation made that guy be like that? And can we replicate that? It's why like a guy like Zach Bond was smart to maybe just sign back with Philly, because if Zach Bond was not much in New Orleans, he's an all-pro with Philly. Does that mean he's an all-pro, or does that mean he's an all-pro in Philly? That makes sense. That's the math you got to do. Same thing with Geno. Like Geno balled out in years 11, 12, and 13 or whatever in Seattle. It does not mean you who's the team that needs a quarterback? You give me a team.
Maybe Tennessee.
Cleveland. Yeah, Cleveland or you Tennessee, that Geno's going to come do that same thing here. And I think the teams are generally kind of, buyer beware on that. That makes perfect sense. I don't even fault them for that. I do think Geno would play well in those other cities we named, but he would play his best in Seattle or with Pete. I think that was it. So, yeah, it wouldn't be surprising if they, shopped him around, but I wouldn't imagine the return being – I wouldn't even imagine he's been interested getting to the point of offering anything worth discussing, to be honest, because of what we're talking about and the contract. I don't know how many teams think that Geno's worth $40 million plus a year. The team that knows him the best doesn't. So it may be hard for another team that doesn't know him that well to feel that way. Those teams are wrong, I would imagine, but I don't fault them for not wanting to. Because if you need a quarterback right now, chances are you have the resources to go get one early in the draft.
We've talked about this before, and I use this term all the time, and people that are watching and listening are going to be tired of saying it. So professional liars. I think everyone that is in this business, especially that runs these teams, they have to be professional liars because they can't tell you guys in particular the truth all the time because it'll backfire on them. But, they were adamant this offseason, especially Mike McDonald was adamant that, no, he's our guy. He is our guy, no doubt about it. From a reporter standpoint, how do you, when you see that and read that, and you ask those questions and you get those answers, how do you navigate that? And then just a couple of weeks later, they're trading him.
I believe that Mike McDonald believes everything that he says to us generally. I don't think he's gotten the part of like how to lie quite yet about big things. Maybe whether a guy's ankle is as bad as it sounds, whatever, he can probably fib that up a little bit. But like how he feels about something, he has not gotten to the point, I think, where he could just get up there and tell a big fat lie, particularly when a camera is on. Like maybe he could like in a little scrum off to the side or something like that. But he's on TV with the sponsors in the background. It's go time. That's corporate McDonald right there. And I don't think he's figured out how to totally navigate that. John is actually still struggling with that. He's a little bit better at it, but he still panics. I'll give you an example. I asked him, I said, do you anticipate Tyler Lockett being on the team this year? And John asked me, he looked at me like I asked him which one of his kids was his favorite. He just froze. He panicked. And he later admitted on his radio show that he panicked when he was asked that question because he just didn't know what to say. He knew the answer was, well, hell no, Mike. We've already pre-recorded cutting Tyler Lockett content. But he couldn't say that. And he was just like, he stammered. He was like, I'm not sure. And that was off to the side, not on the podiums. That's why no one's like seen the video of that. But so I can kind of tell when John doesn't believe something when he does. And I do think he believed when he told Mike Florio and Chris Sims that there was no doubt that Geno would be their guy. Because at the time, there probably was not. He didn't meet with Geno's people until like 3 days later. And then Geno and those guys didn't meet again and get the trade request out there until I think like the next Thursday, maybe 9 or 10 days after he said that on camera. So yeah, I believe a lot can change. Like you said, look how much has changed since we last talked. I believe in the NFL, things can change very quickly. Myles Garrett hated Cleveland last week. Now he'll live in Cleveland for the rest of his life. Things can change in a few days.
So DK did not get his wish to go to a warm weather climate.
No, he did not. Maybe he can cuddle with his direct deposit.
Notifications. You know what?
Those would keep me warm.
You know what's going to make him warm, Mike? Is $150 million. That's what's going to make him warm.
Oh yeah, no, that would make me very. Yeah, I can cuddle with that. That could buy me a nice winter coat. He's got a girlfriend too. Yeah, cuddle with her and 100. She's like a superstar singer or something like that. You can cuddle with her and $150 million in Pittsburgh. You'll be warm 12 months out the year, my friend. I believe that.
What do you think? What led to it? What led to the trade request and then so quickly to acquiesce?
Yeah, I think anytime the trade gets done that quickly, the team didn't want you either. I feel like that's something that Seattle needs to Seattle fans got to understand. Yes. It's not just DK wanted out of here and he just forced their hand. John's hand doesn't get forced. There have been players better than DK and Geno that have tried to force John Schneider's hand to do something, and he has told them go sit down. Like there's a chain of command in Seattle, and me and Peter at the top. So it's not as if they just had to trade DK because he asked. That's not the case. Same thing with Geno. They didn't have to trade Geno either. Geno did not force their hand. They made some calls and got rid of him. That because they wanted to get rid of him. Yeah. So it was mutual. Specifically on DK, that was the one thing, Puck, to be honest, I never got a straight answer on asking around. Like some people mentioned the quarterback situation. I think Diana Rossini also reported it. I heard that as well. Like all I heard was quarterback situation. I was like, what does that mean? And no one could give me a straight answer. Did he just not like Geno?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Was there a conflict there?
It doesn't sound like it was Geno specific. Only thing I got concretely was quarterback situation. I don't know. I can't speculate too far on what that means. I also do know that he did want to go to a playoff team and try to win. And that's the part I know that one for sure. He wanted to win, wanted to go to a good team, didn't want to be shipped off like the Patriots or something like that. The weather aside on New England, it's like, well, they haven't been winning. I know that was part of that. But yeah, that's the one. And you can kind of tell, Puck, even on the national media side, there's not a lot of definitive, this is why DK and the Seahawks divorced. It's just kind of DK axed out, warm weather contender / playoff team, and pay me $30 million.
Yeah, it's just like it would. My immediate reaction, because I agree with you 100%. Like they just don't. You don't make a move. He doesn't come out with the request, and then it's like it's a few days later. He's been dealt. I mean, that has been working. Or they've been working on that for a while, or at least thinking about doing it. And so it just leads me to be: was there a conflict behind the scenes with him and McDonald? Was there a butting of the heads with him and Schneider? I don't know. I never saw anything other than the outbursts he would have sometimes on the field or on the sideline. But he always worked hard. He tried hard. He played hard. I never saw him. At least I can't remember anything in the media where he took a shot at anybody. At least I can recall right now.
He's a pretty good teammate in that regard.
Yeah, he feels like he is.
Puckett, I've thought about this quite a bit because I'm still trying to get a concrete answer, and we'll hear from John Schneider and Mike McDonald eventually. Maybe they'll shed some light on it. Probably not. But what I've come back to as of time we're recording this is maybe the simplest answers, or maybe the best answer is just the simplest one. Is like, as frustrated as fans are watching the offense, imagine playing in it. Like it really could. It may be some other things, but like that could be a driving factor. Like, imagine a Seahawks fan on Sunday, how frustrated you are watching this thing. Now imagine you're out there playing in it and it hurts. Like that. That might be enough to want something new and $150 million.
Yeah. Okay. What about and probably I would assume their unwillingness to do it. I mean, I think if we've discussed this last week too. There's a bunch of different ways you can win in this league. You can spend money on wide receivers. You don't have to spend money on wide receivers. You can spend money on running backs, not on running backs. You can win a bunch of different ways. Maybe they've just decided to go back to the philosophy that they don't want to spend a bunch of money on that position group anymore. They want to go back to being old school and having the Doug Baldwin, Jermaine Kearse 2.0 group again. Maybe that's what they want to do. And so they're like, listen, it just doesn't make sense if we want to get back to that way of football to pay a wide receiver that much money. I think probably you and I would disagree on that one of that philosophy, but maybe that's their thinking on it.
I see this part of that. They've been in the last few years at the top of the league in some spending that you can see obviously why they would want to maybe overcorrect a little bit. Like for a while there, they were like the number one team in safety spending, like that. And they cleared the safety salaries. Like that part is not even, I don't have any reporting on that. I can count, right? If you're the top team in safety spending and you're not getting all pro returns on your safeties, maybe we should shed our safety salary. Same thing. They were the number one receiver spending team. I think maybe them, Miami, Philly was up there as well. So, okay, we're spending more than anyone in the league on receivers. We're not getting like an all pro return on this.
Right.
Let's shed that. That makes sense to me. I would agree with that if you're not getting the top of the top. Like if you are going to be the number one in insert spending here, I would want you to be like top 5 in production in that. And if you're not, do something about it. That part economically I can understand.
Do you think there is at all anything to perhaps with McDonald and Schneider now, like there was Pete's guys and then we want Mike's guys. Do you think there's anything maybe to that? And maybe just, we've got to force these guys up because they were loyal to Pete Carroll. But I don't know, just in terms of philosophy and, DK and Geno really just seemed like the last two, like hardcore Pete Carroll guys. I mean, you got Pete's taking his shirt off at the combine with DK. It's been well documented about the admiration between Pete and Geno. And I'm just wondering could Mike truly get his message across if those two guys were in the building? I bring that up because Danny Kelly circled back to me this week on the show. Remember we made a big deal about, and again, I did. I made a big deal about it, about the posters being taken down.
Yeah, I remember that.
And everybody was like, this is stupid. You people like me are making too big of a deal of it. And I said, okay, yeah, I'll dance with you. I'll make a too big of a deal of it. I know they replaced some of the video boards, but I also thought, listen, you are replacing a lot of history that was made by one particular guy. And if you're a new coach walking into that and you're seeing that, is there some like, how can I get my message across if all of this is up there and some of these players are still on that team? Again, I may be grasping at straws, probably am, but I'm just wondering if that had anything to do with it.
I think it's just very tough. No matter what, for the new coaches to kind of plant their flag, especially if you don't have a track record. Like if you are a new coach, like new as in this is your first time. I think that's a lot tougher than what Pete's walking into in Vegas right now. I feel like it'll be a lot easier to plant his flag because it's like, look at the credentials, guys. Like, I'm Pete Carroll. I know how to win, so listen to me. And that'll be a much easier sell than last year when Mike Macdonald comes in. It's like, I'm Mike Macdonald. I believe I know how to win, so listen to me. Like, it's just a little bit different, and I can understand what they did with some of the changes there. I don't think it's about Mike's guys versus Pete's guys because there's an overlap there. If there's a Venn diagram of Mike guys, Pete guys, there's a lot of dudes in the middle that I think DK was in the middle of that. The people that fit both of those. Jay Reed is probably the best example, and that's why he's back. Sure. Like Jay Reed is the through line from Pete to Mike now, and he's the last remaining through line actually. And they see value in that. Like signing Jay Reed at the time they signed Jay Reed was a message to guys like JSN who were taking naps and waking up and all their homies were gone. And he was learning about it on social media. He'd take a nap, wake up, like, dog, what do you mean we cut Tyler? Take another nap. Dog, we traded Geno. Like he was just tweeting through it. Like he was learning in real time.
Yeah, but everybody loves a good nap, Dugar. Everyone loves a good nap.
Yeah, so I think that was a message to some of those guys who, whether they were tweeting about it or not, just wondering, they're in their offseason workouts in their hometown, waking up and learning that their quarterback is gone. You need to let them know you still want to compete, and you can't do it with a team meeting. How do you do it? Well, you bring back Ernest Jones. You bring back a Jay Reed in large part for his leadership. I do think that Jay Reed is an example of how there is an overlap between who is a Pete guy, quote unquote, who is a Mike guy, and keeping those guys is still important to them because it's not like the Lions cleaning house of Matt Patricia guys. Like being a Pete guy is a good thing. Yeah. That you were part of a winning culture. It's not, you're a Lion and you're with Matt Patricia. If you're a Matt Patricia guy, we probably got to get you out the building. That's a little bit different.
All right, offensive line. As we sit here and recording this Thursday morning, they still haven't. I mean, I know they signed one, Jones, who's a kind of a swing guy and will be a backup. They haven't addressed the offensive line yet in free agency. And they had all this capital to do so. It has left a lot of people in a frenzy and upset about what they haven't done yet. This has been a problem for a decade of offensive line, especially in the interior. And they are watching guys slip away left and right. And so are you surprised that this has happened? Are you or not? Or did you expect this to happen? Or did you expect them to at least sign one of these guys in free agency?
I expected them to be aggressive at the top. I didn't think they'd be able to bring it home because of their limitations. Usually with guarantee structures, usually they're just going to guarantee your first year, maybe guarantee your second year for injury on the bigger deals. And then after that, your guaranteed money probably usually runs out, or there's some vesting structures. And some teams are just willing to just push it all the way. I figured that would cost them. They don't really do deals longer than 2 or 3 years for outside free agents. I felt like that was going to eventually cost them. And then what do you know? Will Fry signs for 5 years. The only 5-year deal from an external free agent in the entire league. That's what it took to get that guy. Do I blame John and those guys for not going to 5 years if that's what it came to? Not necessarily, because that is pretty risky in general, whether a guy just broke his leg or not. That guy in particular happens to have broken his leg recently. So 5 years, that's a little tough. So I'm not surprised that they took some. I mean, Seattle not that attractive as a location currently, but to me, if I'm a free agent, like Drew Dahlman, the center that got $42 million. Why would you come here over Chicago? I'd go to Chicago.
But that's the Dahlman one thing to me is the most concerning, because you have an obvious need at that position in particular. When you had Clint Kubiak coming out and say we need an elite center. And correct me if I'm wrong, I didn't read one single rumor about a connection between Dahlman and Seattle.
I did not either. I did hear. So for what it's worth, when I was at the combine, it was kind of pretty well known he was going to go to Chicago. So maybe I was just like his agent floating that around or whatever. It seems pretty set in stone.
And we have to also acknowledge this too. They're free agents. They got to decide where they want to go. You can do everything in Seattle could have offered him everything. And to your point you just brought up, Dahlman could have just said, once I hit free agency, I'm going to Chicago because I don't know. I've always wanted to play for the Bears. I grew up being a Bears fan. My family's from there. I want to go play there.
Yeah, or I want to go play for Ben Johnson. Like Ben's a very attractive head coach to a lot of offensive players right now because, I mean, the Lions games are on national TV these days, and people see that. They see the O-line. They see the other moves that they're making over there. By the time Drew signed, they had traded for Joe Thuney and traded for Jonah Jackson. So that they're making a commitment to the line there. So, I mean, we're speaking for Drew, but these are the things that go. Sure. This is what happens with free agents. I've talked to guys before their free agency or after it. This is what they think about. Sometimes other teams just don't have a chance unless you throw a boatload of money. Right. You double it or something like that, or you're in a specific city, Miami, LA, depending on where the person is from, but Texas, depending on where that person is from. But sometimes teams just don't have a chance. And that's not, we never really know in some instances, but that's not John's fault, particularly with the setup of the team right now. Like maybe that part is John's fault, but sometimes it doesn't matter. Geno or DK here or not, they've lost out on free agents for one reason or another. So I don't think it's totally that.
But this narrative now is out there. It's to a point of almost reality. They are once again asleep at the wheel in free agency and improving this offensive line. And now we're what if they like the guys they already have? Okay, I mean, the guy, who do they like internally that they think is going to be better in this system? If I hear another person tweet out about Jalen Sundell. You mean an undrafted rookie free agent that never started a game? You're telling me that's okay? I'll sit back and watch. That's the answer at starting center.
Yeah, I mean it could be, but that's tough. If anything, you can maybe sell me Olu because Olu is very smart, and if you do, the part of the reason that Clint believes you need such a good center. It's an athletic thing as well, but it's also a mind thing because the center is in charge. He's the quarterback. And I don't think that mattered as much with Geno because Geno's also very smart and can handle all that. I don't know Sam as well, whether he handles the pre-line stuff. So maybe you can get by with Olu in that regard. I don't know. I don't think you could just roll out the guards you have or just count on a rookie and expect success. I don't know how you could forget watching Geno's play. I don't know how you could watch Sam's last game that we've all seen Sam play and say, let's just develop the guys we have, maybe take a rookie, and Sam will be okay. That is stupid. That's ignorant. I don't care how highly you think of Christian Haynes, Saltawa, Anthony Bradford. They might even be fine players. I would cross my fingers on Haynes maybe of the group in this scheme. But you just can't watch Sam's last game and not go all in on trying to fix that. All into a point, I guess I should say, because I can understand the 5-year thing being a holdup on Will Fries. Yeah, outside of that, you just can't watch that. That Sam was back there getting his ass kicked right up the gut. You got to do something about that because that'll be your fate, Seattle, if you don't do something different. You see what Minnesota did after that? Yeah,
for sure. They just that's all they did was improve their offensive line, especially in the middle. What did you make of
D-line too?
Yeah, D-line. What did you make of the Sam Darnold signing? Yes, like it? No.
No, I don't like it because of the infrastructure that he's coming into. If the Dolphins had signed Sam Darnold, I'd be like, oh, okay, I can see that. The weapons you got, the scheme, whatever, I could see that.
So it's not necessarily the player; it's the situation he's coming into.
Yeah, because honestly, Puck, once you get outside of like the top 5 or 6 quarterbacks, scheme and support is everything. Okay. That includes like even a Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is not scheme proof. There were some schemes where he would look like Sam Darnold because he has deficiencies as a quarterback, particularly as a passer, which is really alarming. And we see that even in the scheme he's in. His own guys complained about his passing.
Do you like the deal though? Because it's not like they committed a bunch of money to him or years. I mean, it's pretty friendly.
Nah, I don't think the deal matters. I think that cost effectiveness only matters around now. But if Sam has a bad game, no one's going to care that he's on a bridge quarterback. They're going to be angry that he threw a pick. They're going to be angry that he took sacks. Sure, same thing with Geno.
But that's
Geno was on team-friendly deals, Puck, and it didn't stop nobody from criticizing him in the red zone.
But that's fans, though, from like an organizational standpoint. If it doesn't work out, what did they lose?
I mean, well, if it doesn't work out, it'll probably be A, because they didn't support him well, and B, because they downgraded at quarterback. Two active decisions that I'm like, all right, well, I just don't trust you guys anymore. Because I do trust Sam to, like, the best of Sam. And I watched some Sam film over the last week. The best of Sam Puck is really, really, really good. It's really good. His best throws, like him on the move, he can move really well. Great athlete, throws on the run, great. It looks great. But what it takes to get that out of him, I don't believe in Seattle to deliver. And I think Geno was making something out of nothing more than people realize. And Sam did a lot of nothing towards the end with a whole lot of something around him. And now you're just flip-flopping. And I think that's the worst thing you could possibly do, is take someone who needs a lot of support and put him in Seattle. Seattle's been one of the least QB-friendly situations for quite some time. It quite literally drove the last quarterback out of here. Is that the perception that they were not quarterback friendly with their scheme and their O-line? And now you're dropping Sam in that. I just don't see that going well without investing a lot more.
But it seems
in
like
what's around Sam.
But it seems like at least this system is very quarterback friendly. At least that's the perception of it.
Oh yeah, for sure. From the line of scrimmage stuff, with the quarterback traditionally does not do. So that's part of it. You just kind of get him to play fast and not think. You're getting a lot of play action. Sam was one of the highest play action quarterbacks in the league last year. He and Derek Carr, I think, were right there in the top 10. So that makes sense with Clint Kubiak. The scheme is quarterback friendly for sure. That's how you can see Spencer Rattler throwing bombs to Marquez Valdez-Scantling in week 12 or whatever. Like, you can operate, anyone can operate in theory, but that's for like a game or two. You know, like it can also be shut down. I've seen this scheme just not be able to move the ball, like have games with 3 points, 6 points, you know, routinely, multiple teams. Even just look at Clint Kubiak's Saints last year. Everyone points to their injuries happening in like week 4 or whatever. Go watch week 3. They couldn't move the ball on the Eagles. I think they scored like 12 points, and that was with everyone healthy at home. You know, before the Eagles defense really turned it around, that scheme can be stopped if you don't got the Jimmies and Joes. And I don't consider Sam one of those Jimmies and Joes. I think he's a decent player. But also the worst of Sam is worse than anything we've ever seen from Geno. The worst of Sam is bad, real bad. And it's kind of like what we saw in that playoff game. And I'm afraid that the Seattle's infrastructure will lead to more of that than his Green Bay game in week 16, which was really good.
DeMarcus Lawrence, what do you make of it? I like it. I think it's a good deal. I think there's a high upside to it. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm. First off, kudos to his agent. $18 million guaranteed. 33 years old, broken foot. Bravo, my man. Bravo. That is quite a bit of guarantees. I like to see the structure of it, but without seeing the structure, it really just looks like a 2-year, like $18 million deal,
Exactly.
2-year, $20 million deal. Which, I mean, go look at how much edge rushers get paid. I think the 25th highest paid linebacker, outside linebacker right now, I think makes like $13 million.
Yeah.
You know, like it's such a bargain, even at that age. And I think if guys can be a pass rush specialist until, like, you know, I watched Dwight Freeney have a game in Seattle with like 3 sacks at age 37. So, I mean, I think a pass rush specialist guy can be 32, 33. So I liked it. Make a strength stronger without putting too much of a burden on DeMarcus Lawrence. You don't need him to get 10 sacks because you have Chenna, you got Boye, you got D Hall, you got Leonard Williams. Like, you have other guys. He's just another dude in your rotation at a price that, relative to his position, is fine. And I think he's still good. I think he just broke his foot, broken bones heal. I guess you could say the same about Will Fries too. But yeah,
he was good before he got hurt. He put up some good numbers.
He was great before he got hurt.
Yeah, and he's good against the run. All right, we've taken up a lot of your time. I know that the Seahawks having a press conference later today, so we'll be following you there on social media. Follow them there at what's it? Mike Dugar. I was going to say Michael-Shawn Dugar on Twitter, but it's just Mike Dugar.
Nah, that'd be too long. I shortened it.
Yeah, it's good. Mike Dugar there on Twitter. Also, follow him there at The Athletic and read all of his work up there. He's got a ton of stuff every single day. By the way, your guys' site at The Athletic is the single best site of tracking free agents. It's amazing. It's so
Oh
good.
man,
It is.
Thank you.
I mean, it is up to date. It is perfect. I mean, the second someone signs, it's immediately updated. It's terrific. So kudos to whoever put that together. And of course, you can listen and watch Mike along with our guy Chris Kidd, co-host of the Seahawks Man to Man podcast. His weekly visit brought to you by Georgetown Tavern Beer, easy drinking domestic style lager made with Pacific Northwest barley and Yakima Valley hops. You can find this episode up on YouTube, also part of the Daily Puck Drop on your favorite podcast platforms. All right, Mike, we'll talk to you next week. Thanks, sir.
All right, man. Go Cougs.
Yeah, go Cougs. There he is, Michael-Shawn Dugar from The Athletic, who, again, joins us every single week. Brought to you by the new Tavern Beer from Georgetown Brewery. Go check it out. See that right behind me? Right there if you're watching on the stream. Thumbs up on the stream. Thumbs up for Tavern Beer. Big thanks to Dugar for joining, as he always does. There's a press conference coming up later, the Seattle Seahawks, where they haven't said who. I'm trying to find it. I think they officially said who it's going to be. I would assume it would be Sam Darnold and some of the other people. I don't know if it's DeMarcus Lawrence, but follow along there with Mike Dugar. Also, I would start refreshing a bunch of NFL Twitter, maybe, and especially our guy, Mike Garafolo, as he hinted that when we had him on about 40 minutes ago, hinted that could be some news on Cooper Kupp. And Seattle is one of those teams that are after Cooper Kupp for very good reason. They need another wide receiver. And, of course, he's got the local connection. Now, what's the asking price? And I think Mike said somewhere around $16 million. I know it's about the guaranteed money. It's not per year. So I got to pull back on that. And just, if they do get him, wait to see what the guaranteed money is. But, his quote was, it's not going to be some bargain. If there's a lot of teams after him that you're going to pay a significant amount. So whatever the guarantee is, or per year, what have you, again, the guaranteed is the only thing that ever matters in any of these contracts. It's just the guaranteed money. Nothing else matters. The length of it doesn't matter. The per year doesn't matter. It's what is guaranteed and when is it guaranteed and how is it structured. Like when we had asked him about DeMarcus Lawrence's deal. It's $18 million guaranteed. 13 of it is guaranteed this year. 5 of it is guaranteed next year. So again, you look at the Lawrence deal. It's a really good deal actually for Seattle. So for Cooper Kupp, I would just say this: I don't think it's wise. Let me strike that. It's not wise to spend a lot of money on Cooper Kupp. It's just not. And I know we're going to fall in love with Cooper Kupp because he's it's a local guy, and we remember what he did in Eastern Washington and all of that. And you need help in that room. But it also can be at a cost that you just cannot. If you invest significant free agency capital in an aging wide receiver, and you still have not addressed the offensive line, I mean, it's just, for a lot of us, are just going to pull our hair out. And for some are tired of hearing about it. But I am tired of not addressing this line. Like, significantly addressing it every single year. You're not going to win with Cooper Kupp if you have no one that can protect Sam Darnold. And I thought Michael-Shawn Dugar made a great point when we just had him on. You go watch the last game in particular, you saw how beat up Sam Darnold got. Where did he get beat up at? On the inside. And that's why, what did Minnesota do? Because Minnesota did not have a good offensive line, by the way. That's why they went out and improved their offensive line. Because they didn't have a good one. And a lot of teams have issues with the offensive line. It is a concern, and it's an epidemic across the sport. But you can still go out and outbid teams. It's okay to do that. It just is. And if they're off season is spent on, which they needed to find a wide receiver. I'm not saying like Marquez, Valdez Scantling is not a good signing. I like it, but if you end up signing 2 wide receivers, but still do not sign anyone on the offensive line, I'm going to bang my head against the wall because it just continues to happen every single year. And to say, well, we'll fix it in the draft. Well, you haven't shown consistently the ability to fix it in said draft. I agree, though, wholeheartedly that the way to consistently build your team is through the draft. I think everybody acknowledges that, especially when it comes to the offensive line. And first of all, in any sport, that's the case. In any sport, I don't care what it is. The best way to build any franchise in any sport is through the draft. You evaluate them, you get them young, they're cheaper. I mean, it's the same for basketball, football, baseball, I'm assuming soccer, and no doubt hockey. It's just the same anywhere. But when you build up a roster that's good enough in all those other departments, and again, this is all just obvious to everyone, you supplement it during free agency. They just haven't been able to do so. And I'm stalling right now because hopefully something happens with Cooper Kupp. Because I know the second I say goodbye to you all, Cooper Kupp, I'm going to see a freaking tweet from Garafolo. Well, Cooper Kupp signed a deal. I'm going to get pissed off. I told them, I said, you got to give me a heads up. Okay, just give me a 30 seconds heads up that he's signed. So, let's see. Blake's becoming one of those guys why we blocked him on the radio station. You are off. Let's see. You have no chance. Got it, Puck. Let's see. You're so off today. Tell me why I'm off, Blake. I'd love to hear your reasoning why we're off. Just tell me. Their offensive line has been terrible for a decade. So tell me how anyone who has an issue with the offensive line and their inability to sign anyone is a problem. Just tell me. And I keep hearing, well, Will Fries was a 7th round pick. It doesn't matter where he was picked. He was considered the top guard on free agency. He just was. Who cares where he was picked? So for those out there who say, well, he was a 7th round pick. So apparently if he's a 7th round pick, you can't pay him, right? Richard Sherman was a 5th round pick. So when Richard Sherman got to be a free agent and was hit the free agency market, do you say, well, you can't pay him because he was a 5th round pick? I mean, no disrespect. It's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. I mean, it just really is. He was Will Fries, and again, there are a lot of factors that go into this. Will Fries and Drew Dahlman it's just not an isolated thing with Fries and Dahlman. It is every year when there is a top offensive lineman target on the free agent class, they don't get them. They don't sniff them. They don't offer a competitive deal, and it's happened for a decade. They're unwilling to pay big money to it. I just would ask why. Because the other way of building the offensive line, if you don't like that way, the other way, how they've pivoted, has not worked out. It just hasn't. And I'm a big Cross fan. I don't think he's elite, but he's good. I love Abe Lucas. Really, because he's a Coug, that's the number one thing. But he's a good football player. But I can't. There's no one here that can confirm, can 100% certainty tell you Abe Lucas is going to play all 17 games next season. He may have a knee issue, may have a health issue. I don't know. But when he's on, he's good. But you don't have a center and you don't have 2 guards. And please stop selling me on Jalen Sundell as the answer at center. So we say, as we always say, we will agree to disagree on this one. I don't know how a Seahawks fan, anyone, can look at what they've done since 2014 to think that gives anyone any confidence whatsoever that they know what they're doing when fixing the offensive line. And, oh, well, it's the new coaches. Well, who knows what these coaches know? Does this new offensive line coach really know what he's doing? Because we sold the same bill of goods on Scott Huff was the same thing last year. Oh, wait till Scott Huff gets his hands on these guys. Wait till Andy Dickerson gets his hands on these guys, or another offensive line coach, or another offensive line coach. It's the same thing. It just rotates every year. All right, we keep stalling here for maybe some news on Cooper Kupp. And you know what? If he signs, he signs. Here I would just say, I don't want to break the bank for Cooper Kupp. That's it. Just he wants to come here on a friendly deal, fine. You break the bank for him, bad move. Bad move, especially when you haven't addressed the offensive line. All right, let's wrap it up with Hey, What the Puck, which is brought to you by Restoration One there of North Seattle. It lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, mold damage with their property restoration services, locally owned and operated. Make them your first call when those damages affect your residential or commercial property, 206-817-8917. Visit them online at restoration1.com, the North Seattle franchise. There's a story. You can go out and read it today about a basketball player, Division I, plays at Kansas State. His name is Coleman Hawkins. Or anyone has seen this story. Coleman Hawkins, Kansas State basketball player. Yesterday, the Wildcats ended up losing to Baylor. Tough game, lost to Baylor, knocked out of the Big 12 tournament. And he was, this video out there of him very emotional afterwards, crying, apologizing to fans, apologizing to his teammates, saying he didn't live up to the expectations for 2025. Coleman Hawkins was a transfer from the University of Illinois, the Fighting Illini. And he tested the waters of the NBA, then came back and decided to hit the portal and transfer to Kansas State, in large part because he got a huge NIL deal, $2 million, which is right up there, I mean, reportedly, of the ones we know, right behind someone like Great Osabor, who, again, there was reports, unofficial reports, that he was getting somewhere around $3 million. Or $2 to $3 million. Anyways, Coleman Hawkins very emotional yesterday with the press because he says he felt that the pressure that he endured all season long and the negativity from the outside of his NIL deal affected how he played this season and affected how he interacted with his teammates. And therein lies the major downside of this new age college athletics. And we've talked about this forever. This was like one of the first things we all brought up. You start taking money and being, quote, paid like a professional, you can't have it both ways anymore. You don't get a claim, I'm just a kid or I'm a student athlete anymore if you're being paid. Because now college kids are being treated like professional athletes. And despite being adults, they are simply emotionally not ready for it. They are not ready for the blowback of it. And when you come to town and you're promoting on social media and you're getting it all out there that you got a truck and you got an apartment and you got $2 million and all this other stuff, there comes an expectation that you are going to deliver. And when you don't deliver, you feel the wrath of it. And with these financial commitments now comes pressure to deliver on the court, on the field, wherever. And then criticism follows. This is the dark side, the downside, and I think the dangerous side of NIL. Because it's opening up now, which there's always been criticism for college kids. Let's not pretend like there hasn't been. But it opens it up to be even more harmful and aggressive from some in the fan base and alumni, and the pressure that these kids feel once that figure gets out, I got to deliver. It's and there's a lot of people that wanted this and asked for it, but this is the downside and the dark side of it. So you got to live with that there as well. It's what makes it tough to swallow. for sure. Coleman Hawkins, very emotional last night. You can go watch the video. It's up there on social media and all the platforms out there. All right, that's Hey What the Puck, brought to you by Restoration One of North Seattle. It's your restoration company that lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, and mold damage with their property restoration services. It is locally owned and operated. Make them your first call when those damages affect your residential or commercial property. 206-817-8917. Visit them online at restoration1.com, the North Seattle franchise. Big thanks to everybody watching and listening today. Thank you to all our sponsors. Limback Lumber, wonderful sponsor. How about Hartley and Hartley Insurance? Zogs on Fox Island. And, of course, Georgetown Brewery and their new Tavern Beer. Go check out that new Tavern Beer at Georgetown Brewery, georgetownbeer.com. And, of course, always big thanks to Restoration1.com, the North Seattle franchise. All right, Daily Puck Drop. Full episodes available up on YouTube as well. That will separate Mike Garafolo and Michael-Shawn Dugar. Post those up separately in addition to the full show up on YouTube. And the full DPD is up on all podcast platforms shortly. Apple, Spotify, wherever you find your podcasts. And, of course, everything up at pucksports.com. Hey, when you're at pucksports.com, I encourage you, sign up, become a Pucks Posse member. $5 a month, that's all it costs you. You get all the free content we do here at Puck Sports, the Daily Puck Drop, all of our interviews, in addition to VIP content, exclusive content as well, like Ryan Divish of the Seattle Times, our weekly conversation with him. That is out. 15 minutes talking baseball with him. We gave you a 20-minute preview yesterday on the show. Also, episode 3 of our 7-part series with Dane Brugler from the Athletic NFL Draft Countdown Show. That will come out next week. First 2 episodes are for Pucks Posse members there as well. So I encourage you to sign up. Go visit pucksports.com. All right, that's it for us on a Thursday. Hold on. I'm going to refresh one more time. That son of a gun breaks this news right when I sign off. Nothing yet. All right. We will talk to you tomorrow. What is tomorrow? Friday? God, it's already Friday. Yeah, Friday. Man, it's quick. We will, who do we got on the show tomorrow? Oh, no Jim Moore tomorrow on the show because Jim's still there in Scottsdale, Arizona. And so he will not be back on the show tomorrow. Just Chris Egan. And we may have another edition of the Scout. We'll wait and see. But we will talk to you tomorrow on another edition of the Daily Puck Drop. Until then, as always, promise to be better.
No shoes, no dice.
Would anybody like to smoke some pot?
Yeah.
I was born to love you. I was born to lick your face. I was born to rob you. But you were born to rub me first.
What do you need my address for?
We'd like to send out a mailer.
Mother of mercy, I don't speak Japanese!